what is sexy today? What?
Smart.
What?
Smart.
Okay, smart. Who else? What is the word you've started to hear very frequently amongst young people? Not what I'm aiming for, but okay. What else? Entrepreneurship. Have you guys? Yeah? Okay. So it's the in word. You know, entrepreneurship, innovation, leadership. Seems like everyone is using it today. Definitely sexy. By the time I was 16, I had already bought into the enthusiasm for entrepreneurship, and technical difficulty hits. I had already bought into the enthusiasm for entrepreneurship and leadership. I had steadfastly jumped into the bandwagon of entrepreneurship. In this case, that bandwagon does not necessarily have a negative connotation. Hi, my name is Mhraf, and I'll use the next 10 minutes to talk to you about my work with youth unemployment, and I promise it's not as boring as it sounds. I grew up in Ethiopia and went to one of the many private schools here in Addis. I was a good student, always placed top 5 to 10 in my classes. My last 2 years in Ethiopia, grade 7 and grade 8, however, saw my results fall quite rapidly. I simply was not happy. I did not test well, nor did I truly enjoy the absence of an education curriculum, centered on creative thinking and critical thinking skills. By the time I had finished grade 8, my family had moved to Nairobi. After a couple of years in Kenya, I found myself in Johannesburg in a school called ALA, otherwise known as African Leadership Academy. Some of you might know it. In order to understand why I was so unhappy in the years of grade 7 and grade 8, I need to sort of explain what ALA is and what the school stands for. In a nutshell, ALA is a 2-year program in which students go through a rigorous curriculum, at the core of which is entrepreneurial leadership and African studies. The school's population is made up of students hailing from all corners of Africa and the rest of the world. During those 2 years, I redefined my African identity, learned firsthand the importance of an education curriculum designed to produce students that were competitive on the world stage. But most importantly, I recognized the power of ideas and their ability to effect change. At ALA, we were encouraged to pursue our ideas tirelessly. We prototyped, asked questions, peeled as many layers of the problems we were attempting to solve with the hope of understanding the root cause of the issues plaguing the societies we lived in. Some of the ideas were, of course, born out of naivety and world hunger. Some out of relevant needs. Regardless, ideas were born. By the end of my first year at ALA, I was already fortunate enough to have gone through 3 different education systems. One here in Addis, the other one in Nairobi, and the one in Johannesburg. The comparison allowed me to draw out a very essential problem. Education curricula in many African nations fail to equip students with the necessary tools to 1, compete in an ever-globalizing world, 2, to become problem solvers in their societies. And so, after a gruelingly insightful year at ALA, Timothy Machasio, a fellow ALA graduate, and I decided to pursue our own ideas. We wanted to pay it forward, A year at ALA had already shown us firsthand that indeed ideas can become tangible. So, we came up with TESS, Teen Entrepreneurship Summit. The concept was simple but bold, address youth unemployment in Kenya. Although we picked Kenya, youth unemployment is not a problem unique to this country. In fact, it's a glaring problem all over the continent. Today, Africa is the youngest continent in the world, with over 200 million youth aged between 15 to 24 in its population. 3 things you need to pay attention with this number. They make up for 20% of the entire population, 40% of the workforce, and staggeringly enough, 60% of the unemployed on the continent. 15 to 24 years of age. I quote, "Every year, some 10 million to 12 million people arrive on the labor market, but only 1/3 of them can expect to find a job. Many work informally, of course, but some 8 million youngsters each year still remain jobless. Without change, with the way we're going at the moment, half of the economically active African population today will be unemployed in 10 years' time." Youth unemployment is more than mere statistics. These disenfranchised, unemployed youth with little opportunities can become serious catalysts for social and political instability. These young people are disproportionately affected by and perpetrate violence and crimes in cities. As a result, they become economic and social burdens on their governments and their fellow citizens. The problem of youth unemployment has several causes. In some countries, the young are unable to access schools, whilst in some others, supply of jobs is not proportional to the demand of jobs. All in all, one striking observation was that even for those who had attended school, many were left underemployed in countries like Tanzania, or in cases like South Africa, the quality of applicants do not match the many positions available. Hence, there is a disconnect somewhere. We wanted to further explore this disconnect. So 2 18-year-old teenagers decided to take this problem heads on. Not a big deal at all. We were like, we're gonna fix this. For me, it was also a personal project. I had seen my own transformation. From that dissatisfied girl in grade 8, I had come a long way. By 17, I could craft concise executive summaries, deliver presentations in front of hundreds of people, prototype ideas, take part in discussions with people of unbelievable reputation. But I, Mhraf, was not unique to this. Key thing, at ALA, the education system allowed us to thrive. I was one of the many. It taught us to envision a world beyond ours. You know the cliche statement, think outside the box? In this case, I learned the lifelong lesson of think outside of your own world, your own limitations. So with TES, I wanted to create a summit that gave youth the skills to think outside of their own world, for them to move past education curricula that fosters them to be job seekers in a market where the jobs are few. So Tim and I, Timothy, piloted TES with the mission, battle youth unemployment by creating youth entrepreneurs. We piloted the program. Our first session included nearly 30 students from Kenya, selected based on their entrepreneurial and leadership acumen. For 5 demanding days, and I tell you, they hated me, we introduced our students to the core tools required to move them from potentialites to actuators, from job seekers to job creators. Our students worked tirelessly. They were introduced to terms and experiential learning that allowed them to see their societies quite differently. One such example of an idea incubated at TES is eLab. eLab's mission is concise: recycle electronic waste into art. By 2014, eLab had eradicated 2,000 tons of electronic waste. It has gone further to create work for 100 women outside of Nairobi. The founder of eLab and the then participant of TES, Alex Mativo, has garnered attention from the likes of Al Jazeera, CNN, and the BBC, and recently, and amazingly enough, received the Queen's Young Leaders Award, Queen Elizabeth of England. And I can go on and on. The important thing here with TES is we created a ripple effect. An actualization of an idea led to the benefit of parties that were beyond my scope of imagination. But what I want to emphasize today are 2 things: the core curriculum we used at TES, and the un-sexiness of the power of ideas. We created TES on the foundation of BUILD, an ideas incubating process developed by the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. It is an acronym: B for believe, U for understand, I for invent, L for listen, and D for deliver. I'll explain what they mean later on. Because they understood our mission and had faith in the curriculum, TES was able to acquire the backings of the likes of DHL, Equity Bank, which is the largest bank in Kenya, and the International Labour Organization. Yes, we got thousands of dollars in sponsorships from these reputable companies and organizations, and we had quite the coverage. But one important lesson I learned throughout this entire process is how unsexy entrepreneurship and the power of ideas are. I turned 22 today, so our pilot was exactly 4 years ago. Throughout the time, I have let go of the ropes of TES. I don't run it anymore, because developing an idea and then following it through is tough. I can stand here today and just mention our successes. Like a Disney movie I could have ended with, and they lived happily ever after, but nobody asks what happens afterwards. But that is not the reality. It takes grit. Always brainstorm, always look around you and ask what you can improve. Not all your ideas will come to fruition, and albeit the sexiness of the term of I am an entrepreneur, the process of implementing an idea is not sexy. It takes time and it takes iteration, which is the process of constantly tweaking and improving your idea. It is tough. And you will fail multiple times. Actually, you'll fail more times than you will succeed. But the true power of ideas lies in perseverance. So, build. Believe in your idea. Understand the problem you are addressing. Invent multiple solutions. One solution is never enough. Listen, truly listen to the constructive and the positive feedbacks that you get, and then deliver. Then fail, and then do it all over again. Be committed, and stay committed because it's hard. And as Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. My work with TES and my experience of living in different countries has shown me the need to transform African nations' education curricula, and I'll keep on working towards that. We need systems that pump out students that are able to compete internationally, systems that encourage African students to think beyond their world, to think beyond their own limitations. I have seen firsthand the importance of such an education system. Today, that unhappy grade 8 student made it through. Thank you for listening. My name is Mhraf.